Well, hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So Kabam has gone and done it again. Just when you think Kabam is kind of trying to make amends for their screw-ups by updating the sigil, which is definitely commendable. Would be even better if they didn't have to do it, but still, good that they listened. Good that the sigil is getting improved, and I'm very happy about that. But as we all discussed in the sigil video, what Kabam give it, Kabam take it away with the other hand, preferably whilst you're not looking from your back pocket without your knowledge. And today's big surprise that conveniently Kabam did not mention in the live stream, whilst they did mention majority of the other things. I would even argue that just about every other bullet point from their patch notes got mentioned on the live stream in one way or another. This was conveniently absent. I wonder why. So Kabam is taking a nerf axe to the power back boosts. And we all know why this is. We all know exactly why this is, because the power back boosts were used to bully their 9.1 boss when people just infinitely started spamming level 3s with Professor X and a handful of other champions. So they are salty losers that identified the new problem after the continuous existence of this game for 10 years. And for 10 years, power back boosts existed in this game, as an option. Kabam said, you cheesed our latest boss. So, since we are little crybabies, we're going to take it away. Starting right now, you can no longer do that. Let's read this. The various class power boosts, colloquially known as power backs, have been long allowed certain champions to trivialize both PvE and PvP content, and have thus been reworked. We want power backs to still feel incredibly impactful and be considered consistent tool for players, but we want to pare back just how powerful they are. Starting with this update, they will now be capped at 50% of the power spent on the special. If you use special 2, you can only gain back up to 1 bar of power. If you reduce the cost of special 2, you can only gain up to 50% of the power you spent on it. To help with modernizing these boosts, we have also made them immune to ability power rate modification. This should aid in them feeling more consistent and predictable. Alongside these gameplay changes, the description of the boost has been updated and should now better match the gameplay. We feel these changes allow powerbacks still to be a strong tool, but help reduce the situations where they can allow players to trivialize encounters. If you want more info on these changes, we'll have it in a post for upcoming Season 56 AW, which is again quite important because that is by far and away where this will have the biggest impact. This will utterly change the way AW is played. This will obviously the most significantly impact champions with the guaranteed crits, effectively champions like Ghost, Corvus, Maulman, which is currently a very kind of common tactic that I myself have been used in war. And ultimately, that is just one big side effect that will lead to this. Aside from certain PvE content being made harder, some challenge mode fights and stuff like that previously were made significantly easier with power back boosts. But again, it asks for you to commit to that because it's not something that's active all the time. You still have, limited amount of them that you can use, especially the 200% ones. And it's not like anybody, played the game with them constantly active. No one that I know of. 90+% of the players would typically use these either for extremely challenging fights or most likely for AW. And the reason for that is, in AW, losing matters. In AW, you want to ensure your utmost best that you will not die. And this will fundamentally change well, the number of deaths in AW, I believe, as well. And also how we can, or now possibly cannot any longer counter specific fights. Obviously, that is what Kabam calls trivializing the thing. But if we measure this to the level of bullshit, I'm not going to go ahead and say this is 100% bullshit. Because I do kind of agree that there are fights and encounters that, you know, AW boosts effectively, power back boost completely solve. Especially in AW. You put on a power back 1 boost and you, power stat 1 boost, power back boost, you know, you put on recoils, you drop 2 heavy attacks, 1 combo, and you just spam your level 2s to finish nuke the fight. That happens. But again, that's still fairly expensive because you often need to change your masteries and you will suffer the recoil damage and chip damage. And this will be a change to the game. Like with everything else though, my personal biggest worry here is not necessarily that some of the fights that I have been taking will be harder now. My personal biggest worry here is that there is absolutely no way that I trust that Kabam has done the background testing for this, and that this will not leave us with not an insignificant amount of encounters that are borderline undoable now. You know what I mean? I do not trust Kabam whatsoever to have actually played through, let's say, X amount of Tier 1 Alliance War maps as a test, to make sure that without the power back boosts functioning the way they used to, the fights still feel doable. Because that's what always happens when Kabam does something like that. You know, when Kabam changes war tactics, we end up with placements that, you know, are just utter bullshit. When even Kabam sometimes releases new champions, I just don't think of some matchup combinations that are borderline undoable. And this is quite a significant change. I do believe that, you know, the solo player content still be manageable. It will be harder, but it will still be manageable. The biggest worry here for me personally is the competitive content. And keep in mind, I am by far and away not in the group of the people that are pissed off most. But such a group exists. There are a lot of people using extremely colorful language at Kabam right now for this change. And whether they are in the right or they are not, that, you know, we can leave up for debate. And, you know, I personally still side with the players because I do think this is a fairly shit thing to do 10 years in. But I'm not, you know, 100% opposed to it if it works out fine, if there are not some major things that Kabam has, you know, overlooked with the current Alliance war maps and placements and so on and so forth. Which again, I have zero faith in. But if they are lucky and nothing, you know, awful happens, in theory, you know, it kind of makes sense to make Alliance war fights, you know, let's say harder. But not unreasonable. At the same time, back to the original point, this still unquestionably pissed off a lot of people. That is the type of thing that Kabam should avoid doing, and that is exactly the type of thing that Kabam has been doing a lot recently. By no exaggeration, last week alone I had 4 friends of this game message me and say to me that they need a step back from the game or they're quitting altogether because they're fed up with Kabam's bullshit, the way they handle things, the sigil thing, you know, and everything else, like the gifting event and the bugs and the updates and the logs and the graphic issues. And now all of a sudden intercepts are as unreliable as ever, and they just have had enough. So it's needless to say that in my opinion, even though Kabam is doing certain things right, there are a lot of things that they're doing wrong. And this is definitely the epitome of one of them. This genuinely just about feels like somebody at Kabam got salty that their boss fight got nuked, or that, you know, some of the Alliance War matchups are getting nuked, and they went to complain to the big boss who, you know, made the decision to change it. This genuinely feels like some sort of whiny loser dev behavior. And whenever Kabam uses the word trivializes content, what they effectively means is that the content isn't, lucrative enough. What they always mean when they say trivialize content, that was the wording that they used to take away revive farming. Effectively, what it meant is that you weren't spending enough cash and or units to buy revives. When they say trivialize content here, they're obviously meaning the same thing with Alliance War items and deaths, and also perhaps player items and revives and so on and so forth. That is what it is. Kabam has not once used the word trivialize without the subtext or in favor for players. Or nothing good has ever come when Kabam uses language like this. And to me, it feels like they revert to this word when they know they're talking shit out of their ass. Or at the very least with hidden agendas. So, here we are. As I said, on a personal level, I think the change can be okay if the fights are still manageable and doesn't mean that, we get some absolute bullshit matchups. At the same time, it still feels bad. It still leaves like a shitty taste in your mouth. It genuinely feels like Kabam pulled down their pants, bent over, and defecated directly in your face. Because it's been 10 years of them functioning one way, and all of a sudden Kabam has found like some major issue. There's like no advanced warning, no mention anywhere for it, just somewhere thrown in the patch notes basically. The power back boosts are boo-hoo bullshit. So, what do you guys think? Were the power back boosts too OP? Are you with Kabam on this? Let me know. Would love to hear from you guys. Bye-bye. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about